Hi there everyone, Lars back with another weekly review and analysis for Gravity Falls through its canon events leading up to the 10th anniversary of Weirdmageddon. Now we are finally in the second season. Oh boy, the glorious second season. And to be perfectly candid, this is actually where I began my viewing of Gravity Falls as it was releasing. See, I came in for the episode Sock Opera, got hooked, and then never looked back. And thank you to my wonderful sister for introducing me to this fantastic show. But as we go into season 2, if you haven't yet seen season 1 like I hadn't, then it just seems like this show is going full throttle all the time, going hard into the paint, and yet that's not really the case. Season 1, as was discussed last week, was a whole lot of setting up this world, setting up the characters, the mysteries and everything. It was more like the monster and mystery of the week, whereas in season 2, gears shift entirely, and now we are plowing straight on ahead to the big stuff, to the big reveals, to the end of the world at the hands of Bill Cipher. And so it needs to be said at the very beginning, before we start talking about this week's plethora of episodes, because there's a lot to talk about, is that Alex Hirsch and his team decided that they were going to combine seasons 2 and 3 of Gravity Falls into one epic final season. Now, there are reasons for this particular choice, which I will get into later, but I will also still stand by what I've said previously, that I think it was a bad move. A bad move in that it robbed everyone, including the creators and their story, of a whole lot more needed progression, a whole lot more of the fun and the adventures that we could have had, and truly in expounding on everything that Gravity Falls has to offer. And especially as we dive into these episodes for this week, you realize there is so much in Gravity Falls. You could have easily done 3 seasons, possibly even more. It's one of the reasons why fans keep coming back to this show. Not just because of its great characters and the great mysteries and the humor and everything, but because of the almost limitless adventurous potential within the story. Now, for this week's review and analysis, we've got 5 episodes. Yeah, count them. That is 5. That's a whole lot. We've got Scarioki, we've got Into the Bunker, we have the Gulf War, not the one that's got everyone freaking out in real life, though honestly I think you probably should be concerned whether or not little Putchians are actually messing around with your golf balls whenever you go to a miniature golf course. And then we've got the big one, the Sock Opera episode. Oh boy, I could spend hours just talking about this one. And then the little gift shop of horrors. Now, the reason why I am tackling 5 episodes in 1 week, because that is a whole lot, is because when we get around to Weirdmageddon, I really want to be able to spread those episodes out, because there's so much consequential stuff that should be talked about in the finale for Gravity Falls, rather than just cramming it all into one episode. But what that means is that I can't then, I could, but I won't spend hours upon hours talking about all the cool stuff from Scarioki to Sock Opera. You're going to have to bear with me as I shorten things down insanely. But here we go. In Scarioki, Gravity Falls is recovering from all of the shenaniganery that went on during Gideon Rises. The Mystery Shack is rebuilt and rechristened with a whole new party, inviting all of the rubes from Gravity Falls to come in and spend their hard-earned money for Grunkle Stan's own self-satisfaction at now being the hero of the falls. All of this is, though, thrown into a little bit of chaos as agents detecting weird seismic activity from Gravity Falls as Grunkle Stan now activates the portal that is underneath the Mystery Shack. They come to investigate, and Dipper, wanting to again be validated for all of his conspiracy theories, wanting to feel more grown up, seeks out these agents like, I will show you that the magic and weirdness of Gravity Falls is indeed real, and releases a horde of the undead on the party that Grunkle Stan is throwing, and converts Zeus into a zombie and nearly wipes out the entire Pines family until Grunkle Stan arrives like a boss and basically one punch man's his way through this horde, helping to rescue Dipper and Mable, and then utilizing the power of family and horrible singing, they burst all the brains of the zombies except for Zeus, because Zeus has got absolute plot armor because he is the world's most perfect man. And this episode marks a really big turn within Gravity Falls. Again, away from the monsters and mysteries of the week to really the heart of the story, which is family. And from this point on, a lot of the episodes of Gravity Falls will be focusing on the family dynamic of the Pines. Not just the dynamic between the twins, but now including Grunkle Stan and their ever-growing family of add-ons with Seuss and Wendy, and then all the weirdness that comes along with it. And you know what? Speaking of Wendy, we then get into the bunker. This episode is just absolutely wild, as Dipper now wants to confess his feelings to Wendy, even though he knows it's an absolute long shot. A 12-year-old dating a 15-year-old? Yeah, like this is ever going to happen. Well, he is full-on distracted with the reveals that take him and the others into the bunker, this secret space that the author of the journals had created in order to be safe, well, from something or someone. And it's such a creepy episode of mysteries, of dangers, of ancient architecture and technology, even some alien-like stuff that seemingly reveals the author of the journal, who ends up being a shapeshifter, who knows the author of the journal and wants to steal it so that way he can escape, begin collecting all so many faces from the outside world, and then who knows where. I mean, if you're a face-stealing monster from another planet, what are you going to do with your freedom? Well, in the midst of battling this monster that leaves everyone guessing who is who, Dipper confesses his feelings to Wendy, but not the real Wendy, to the shapeshifter, though Wendy overhears. And in an absolute awesome moment of badassery, Dipper and Wendy work together in order to defeat the shapeshifter. And then afterwards, well, Wendy addresses Dipper's feelings and lets him down. And it's honestly such a beautiful letdown moment that just feels honestly very well earned, not just because of everything that Dipper and Wendy have gone through as a possible romantic couple, but honestly as friends. This is Wendy telling a friend whom she really cherishes that, look, I just don't like you that way, but we can still be friends. And Dipper maturing in a way that he would never have foreseen, accepting it and trying to move on. Now, as we'll see later on, Dipper doesn't fully get over his crush of Wendy, and I know that a lot of people have criticized this particular move in Gravity Falls, but again, I'm actually going to stand by this particular choice from Alex Hirsch and say, no, that is very real. It's one of the things that makes Dipper feel very relatable, I think, to a lot of guys, is that, yeah, you don't just simply get over your first major crush, or even a crush that you harbor for quite some time, and Wendy's a pretty awesome person. It's hard to just simply give up your feelings for someone that you've got a really strong bond with and someone who you really, really like and who's really, really cool. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And again, I will defend that because it just makes the writing feel way more realistic. But at least Dipper does get a consolation prize in the form of the author's laptop. Burm, burm, burm. Really cool stuff there. Now, the Golf War is a hilarious episode in of itself. I mean, it literally just exists to be completely over the top and hilarious as Mable faces off against Pacifica. And one of the cool things I like about this episode is that it brings back how Mable is actually really, really good at mini golf. And we get to see her do really, really well, showing off for the town and for her family as they're having a family outing at the miniature golf course. But then Pacifica shows up and absolutely shows her up in just the most ridiculous way possible, and with Sergey, who once won gold at the Olympics, the one time that they had mini golf. Well, now that Mable wants to show Pacifica up, so she sneaks into the miniature golf course with Dipper. They discover the Lilliputians, these little golf ball people who are the ones in charge of how balls end up where they do on the course. So now, armed with this knowledge and trying to utilize the rivalry between the peoples of the different holes, Dipper and Mable intend to embarrass Pacifica in a one-on-one match where the Lilliputians will be on Mable's side, giving her the ultimate win in hopes that they can get the sticker that will show that they are indeed the most superior ones. Now, this all goes quickly belly up when some of the Lilliputians begin to get very jealous of one of the other holes and decide that they will win Mable's favor by just simply killing Pacifica. So now Mable has to rescue her arch rival from the Lilliputians, and you have a full-on battle on the golf course, and it is glorious. And by the end of it, now a new bond forged in the fires of battle, Pacifica and Mable now have a somewhat begrudging, though maybe not entirely begrudging on Mable's part, respect for one another. And it actually works out really, really well. This is just such a fun episode and starts the potential redemption arc for a character who back in season 1 you probably despised a little bit, at least a little bit. But then we get to the almost magnum opus of this show. Seriously, sock opera is one of the absolute best, where Dipper now with the laptop from the personal laptop, the old Hades laptop from the author, tries to uncover the full secrets of Gravity Falls with this amazing device paired off with the journal. Unfortunately, he can't log in. He wants Mable's help to decipher what the password could be, because, I mean, Mable has figured out a lot of amazing things along their journey in Gravity Falls thus far, but Mable is completely enraptured in a new crush to Gabe, this absolute weirdo going around with sock puppets, and deciding to try to win Gabe's heart, she's going to throw the absolute biggest sock puppet show of all time and ropes everyone into it, including Dipper, with the promise that if he helps her out, she will help him. However, Mable does not uphold her end of the bargain at all, leaving Dipper steadily becoming more and more obsessed, paranoid, and insomniac because, well, he is consumed with helping his twin sister and trying to break into this laptop, but after too many tries, now the laptop is going to delete all of its information. Bill Cipher intercedes and says, hey, give me a sock puppet, or give me a puppet. He doesn't exactly say which one. He says, give me a puppet, and I will give you the code. Dipper stupidly makes the choice, and Bill takes over his body, destroys the laptop, and then proceeds to go try to find the journal so that way he can destroy them and prevent Dipper from interfering with his plans. Well, this means that while wearing Dipper's flesh suit, Bill then gets roped into Mabel's shenaniganery, and it is just absolutely glorious. The whole sock puppet opera is just honestly a masterpiece from beginning to end. Mable went absolutely all out. Gabe is falling in love with her performance, not necessarily with her, but with her performance, until Dipper is able to use one of the sock puppets to communicate to Mable that things are not going all too well. He has been taken over by Bill, and Bill is going to destroy the journal, and probably in the process also ruin the finale. So Mable has to then swap places with Dipper, as Dipper then takes over the sock opera, and Mable goes to confront the body of her brother and the demon inside, and you get this epic showdown between the two of them, where Mable, utilizing knowledge of her brother and the fact that Dipper's body is absolutely exhausted, to overpower and beat Bill in front of everyone, as Grunkle Stan records it all for posterity. And the entire sock opera goes up in flames, and Gabe angrily stalks away from Mable and makes out with his hands. Yeah, he's a bit of a freak. And then, yes, I am skipping Zeus and the Real Girl because that's actually one that I really want to talk about later. And we're jumping on ahead to the little gift shop of horrors. Again, much like when the Pines and Zeus found their way into the bottomless pit, we have a variety of little short stories as told by Grunkle Stan to a poor tourist who finds themselves locked away in the Mystery Shack after dark. And you just get, a bunch of little silly stories that, once again, the writers were like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? But it really wouldn't work as a full episode, so hey, we're going to give it just kind of this little mini story here. And you just get some fun stuff out of this. Now again, all of these episodes are there to really gear the story, the characters, and the audience towards something far more grandiose than just simply your monster or mystery of the week. We are now barreling towards the reveal of who the author of the journals is, and we're now getting a better sense of what kind of deal Bill might have made with Gideon, that there's something really, really big coming. There's some sort of doom, and the breadcrumbs have already been laid. And the further that the Pines go down this path of finding the answers to these bigger mysteries, the more and more dangerous it becomes, to the point that the only ones that they can really rely on are each other. It is all about the family. So Gravity Falls is now switching away from the more lighthearted adventures to the far darker ones, so that way it can really bring out the meat and potential of its central theme, that of family. And this is why I argue that Alex Hirsch made the wrong call with combining seasons 2 and 3. Yes, by the end of the season, the theme of family comes through very potently. But, spoilers on ahead for those who haven't seen it, when it's revealed that Grunkle Stan's twin brother, Stanford, is the real author of the journals, not anyone else. Oh, all of the brilliant misdirection that happened while this show was premiering. The thing is that we have got so little time with him to really build up his part in the family and really explore the dynamics of a broken family trying to come back together, because there's just still so much to do. And so the theme somewhat flounders, and it actually takes away from the development of some of the key characters, being the Stans. And that is just, that's really, really frustrating to look back on. And again, also just not fully embracing the potential of all the things that could have happened within Gravity Falls. And this is not just simply Alex's issue. This is also Disney. Disney totally dropped the ball on not further monetizing this show as they could have, with all different kinds of merchandise. Like, seriously, they should have gone as hard as the show was, because there was such a massive craving fan base for the series as it was premiering. Disney could have made an absolute killing. They had the goose that was laying the golden eggs, and they did nothing with it. They ignored it and let it wander off into the woods to probably be taken away by some manotaur or something like that. And this does bring up something that's kind of difficult in the middle of the creative process, that you will have these dreams of grandiose success for whatever story it is that you're making, but honestly, accomplishing them is rather difficult. And you know what? It's easy to fall into a cycle of pessimism where you're just kind of going through your story and you're saying, well, I'm doing it for the story's sake, and you don't fully realize the potential inherent in it in the moment. This is why it's very important to take a step back from your own work, engage with your audience, and if you find that you have got a big audience that is craving for more and you actually do want to give them more, then hallelujah, the stars are aligning, capitalize on that. And honestly, it's just also really good for your mental health to give yourself some breaks and step back a little bit and just assess honestly where things are going and receive feedback from other people. Trust me, that is a really good way to go about things. And also, returning to the conversation from last week about kind of cranking up the darkness and the tension and the stakes to a whole new level, how exactly does Gravity Falls do that in a way that feels, well, consistent and isn't just artificially ramping things up and overloading you with tension? Because that can absolutely happen with a story. You can absolutely, in a way, kind of artificially heighten the tension where again, when people kind of begin to assess a little bit more what's going on in the story, you're like, wait a second, why is this going on? This feels forced. And when a story begins to feel forced, people start to lose interest in it. So how does Gravity Falls exactly do it? I mean, granted, yes, the stories are becoming darker and grander, and they're becoming also far more connected than they were in the past, so we do see that progression within the story, but one of the very critical things is that the humor of season 1 is still there, is still going strong, and I would argue even getting better. So the humor remains as a constant to provide that contrast of levity. And the levity is what allows you to balance the growing darkness within the story, as well as the continuity of character progression. There is brilliant character progression in the first half of Gravity Falls Season 2 that makes it feel like we haven't completely jumped into the deep end just yet. It's the plot slowly growing and thickening and becoming darker and more tense as the stakes continue to ratchet up ever so slowly from episode to episode, but because the characters and the humor remain consistent, it's an anchor that allows the audience to kind of hold on and naturally then go with the flow as the story progressively gets bigger. This is one of the reasons why characters and character progression are absolutely so important within the story, because they make sense of the story as it evolves. So I believe that's all I need to say for these 5 episodes of Gravity Falls Season 2. I could spend hours talking about each and every single one of them because, by golly, I love them so much. Maybe that would be actually a fun thing to do for a live stream in the near future, so pay attention to that. But if you'd like to support everything that we do here at Camille's Ceremony, if you'd like to support our continuous effort to follow through with the 10th anniversary of Weirdmageddon, then please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Check out the books that we've published. Links for them are in the description below. And thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, y'all, tschüss.